Okay, so I stole my sister's Mac, so the quality should be much better. I'm actually really mad because I just recorded this and now I have to do it again. But anyway, so I know this guy is very intelligent. He scored literally somewhere around 200 on the IQ test. So I asked him, what school of philosophy do you most adhere to? What is like the foundation of all your thoughts? And he said Pyrrhonism, and Pyrrhonism is like absolute skepticism. It's skepticism in like you have to doubt everything. You even have to doubt that you have to doubt everything. So I sent him a critique about what I thought of skepticism, and he hasn't given me a response yet. But I thought is I don't know, a pretty good thing to bring up because I feel strongly about it. So the first thing is that obviously it's self-negating. You can't doubt that you have to doubt something because that's like two negatives. The second one is the circular reasoning because there's nothing certain enough in skepticism to be able to defend it with. So you say, why do you have to doubt stuff? Because you can't be certain of it. It's like saying the same thing. So also it like you have to be certain of stuff to be able to say that you're not certain of it. Like you can't say this isn't certain without ever having a concept of certainty because people have no idea what you're talking about. You have to have at least an idea that something could be partially confirmable or somewhat like probable. That way you have a notion which you can negate. So okay, according to skepticism, you have this kind of a certainty of complete uncertainty, and this is not uncertainty in complete certainty. And you can't really ever figure this out using skepticism because skepticism never leads to an actual conclusion. There's can't really figure out anything using skepticism. But if you follow skepticism, you end up following the first thing, which is that you're certain that everything's uncertain instead of being uncertain that everything is certain, and that's something you should be skeptical of, but you end up doing that anyway if you follow skepticism. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with like analytic propositions, but basically they say it's like when you name something, like the phonetic sound that you make has nothing to do with what you're talking about, but it's like it's something that you create in order to quickly refer to something. It has nothing to do with it. It can't be. It's not true or false, because if you create it means something to you, and like if you change it, it'll still mean something to you, but it won't be true or false. In order to prove something true or false, you need a synthetic argument, which is basically like the first one would be like a dog is a dog. The second one would be like a dog is on the street. The second one you can prove false, and that's the kind of thing you need to defend skepticism because that's something like obviously that could be certain or uncertain. So skepticism, it really doesn't have this a reliable foundation. First of all, because everything in it is uncertain. There's nothing you could use to say that something's certain about it. So it's not really a rational type of thing. You need actual things that you can prove that are certain or uncertain in order to make any sense of the concept of skepticism. So it's more an empirical thing. You're denying empirical observations, saying that empirical observations are certain. It's not like a rationale that you could apply to something that doesn't have rules. So basically, to prove skepticism, you have to look at inductive observations. Like you observe things, and you have to determine if they're certain or uncertain, if they show a tendency to be certain or not. And these things, inductions, are like something that you'd never be able to link together to be sure. Because even if you think that God's playing tricks on you just to make you think something, you never be totally sure that it wasn't just a coincidence. That all of these observations that you're making have nothing to do with each other. So when you observe something and you have these individual observations, you can't ever use them to prove something because you don't know. So that's one of the things that's the problem with skepticism because it's an inductive, it's an empirical ideology. Here I'm also talking about skepticism as a mechanical process, like something that when you check something, you check it over again the same way, and it's like the failure of that mechanical process to verify something that is at fault here. It's not just blind belief in denial. Okay, so here's my last point. Not something that I don't know. This other guy I know is really intelligent. Was trying to explain artificial intelligence, I guess, using Turing machines. In his model, there was something. They're like, if a Turing machine was measuring something, and it was uncertain, it would keep looking for it. It would just keep looking until it found out, and then it would stop, marking that it was certain. So if you have Turing machines that measure these Turing machines, if they find one that stops, then they keep looking for one that doesn't stop. But if they find one that doesn't stop, then they stop because that's what they're looking for. They found it. So if you had one of these Turing machines measure themselves, they wouldn't stop, because if they found themselves looking and they stopped, then they would find themselves stopping and they would have to keep looking. So that's kind of like how skepticism works here. It's like, you can't be sure that you're unsure, but you can't be unsure that you're sure. So how I ended it was, I said that Pyrrhonism here suffers a Pyrrhic victory, which is it's really two different references. Pyrrhonism refers to a Pyrrho, and Pyrrhic victory here refers to Pyrrhus. So they're two different things, but it's just like a little play on words. But thank you for listening.